Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Bradford, General Manager of D&D Beyond, and welcome to this week's and Beyond Development Update and Community Q&A session. I got the con crud pretty bad from New York Comic Con this last week and weekend, so I have not been with you for a couple of weeks. I'm so sorry that you've had to suffer without my presence for that long. But I came back from New York, and I guess it was just like a cesspool of people, going together, no hand sanitizer, flying on airplanes. It's all just very, very rough, and the cards are stacked against everyone who is trying to remain healthy. And it got me, and I've not been feeling well. So we're going to see how long I can make it today. There might be some muting for little, coughing fits, but we're just going to do it live. We're going to see how this goes. We're going to see, how well we can pull this off. And today, because I have been gone for a couple of weeks and I can never keep up with the questions anyway, we're going to give a couple of updates, and then I'm going to jump into answering as many questions as I can get to before I pass out at the keyboard, or something, or I go into a coughing fit. So let's see. So latest updates upcoming and extended AMA. If you have a question, we've got this magic thing over here that I look on this screen for, and it captures the question if you type it in chat and preface it with the word question, pulls it right in there. So do that part, and your question will be captured. And then when we get to that time, I'll be able to go through it. So let's see, latest updates. So we have, in the last couple of weeks, launched the Encounter Builder into beta. And that means that anyone can access it. It doesn't matter if you're a subscriber or not. You can access the Encounter Builder at this point in time. So if you haven't been a subscriber and you want to try that out, we encourage you to do that at this point in time. We encourage you to share your feedback with us in our forums. And also, we put tooltips into the monster stat blocks. So that is currently in the Encounter Builder as well. So I encourage you to try all of that out. It really is pretty handy for trying to run some combat encounters like for your game. It's going to be even better to run those before too much longer as we start getting into encounter tracking with the Encounter Builder. But even in its current state, very, very useful, especially with those tooltips being ready to go. And that was released last week. Content management, we have share all and share none buttons now. So this was the primary form of feedback that we had. So I can kind of demonstrate real quick. Whoops, I didn't make it very long. All right, hold on one second. And we're back. All right, so with this, you can go to your campaigns, and then you can choose one of those campaigns. And within that campaign, you can visit content management. And then now, conveniently, you have a share all and a block all button here. So that is going to just block everything. So if your default is you would prefer everything to be blocked, and then for you to go in and manually share, you can do that a lot easier at this point in time. So that was a little quality of life change that went into place this last week as well. And then another thing that is a work in progress. So we've been talking a little while about foreign language translations and trying our best to get to a place where we can start to support some of these languages. And I am sharing today that the first of those languages that we're targeting, and this was a big ask from Wizards of the Coast, especially since Luca Comics and Game Convention is coming up in Italy here. I think it's the first week of November. We are going to, we're targeting to have the Italian Player's Handbook available. As I've talked about in the past, I want to be really clear here. This is not a full localization of our website. That is a massive undertaking that we're just not able to do with our bandwidth at this point in time. But we do want to start testing and start getting into foreign languages and getting our feet wet there, where we can understand community needs and we can assess how much demand there really is out there for these foreign language translations of the books. And so we're starting with the Italian Player's Handbook, and that's something again that we target to have in place, by Luca. And so once you're able to see that, you can purchase that foreign language translation for the price of the compendium only content portion of the typical Player's Handbook. So if you go to our marketplace right now, you can go to the Player's Handbook. You can see that it has races and classes and subclasses, probably. And I'm trying to think, probably equipment of some sort, maybe not in the Player's Handbook. It might have some monsters, depending on how that's broken up. But you can buy those individually, or you can buy just the compendium only content for the Player's Handbook in English. That's what you can do today in the marketplace. You can buy that for $19.99, and that's going to give you every bit of the text and the artwork that you would typically see in the Player's Handbook. So when we start with foreign languages here, and this is a starting point, and we've got to see how this goes. We're going to have these different foreign languages available as the compendium content only portion of that. And then again, if we see enough interest, if we see that this is helpful for the community, then we will certainly do our best to continue down into other languages and to expand out to the rest of the core rule books for these different languages that we're starting to introduce. So again, this is early and this is a starting point, but I really am glad that we're able to start heading in this direction where, again, the digital format is such a boon for some countries who have been wanting this text in their native language. And right now, there are a lot of logistical roadblocks in the way for being able to get printed copies of these books into some of these regions. And so digital doesn't have those kinds of restrictions. And we're really excited about trying our hand at this point in time. So more to come on that as we get a little bit closer to time. But this is something that we're targeting. Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate that, Windows. I don't know if you all saw that or not, but I did. Windows trying to tell me that I need a restart. They really just try to schedule our lives, don't they? And then finally, work in progress on Eberron Rising from the Last War. There are, I don't know if you've heard or not, but there's like an artificer that's going to be in there. And so there is some development work going on right now to better support the artificer and to do some, some of the other work that might be required for that book to be ready for that release November the 19th. If you have any questions about that, feel free to ask those in chat. We're going to give away a legendary bundle. So you need to type something in chat. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the word something. It can be, get well soon, Adam. And it would be very appreciated. That's not going to help you win if you start doing that or anything, though. But just type something in chat. I'm going to get a little bit of a drink of my hot sweet tea here and see if this, calms the vocal cords for a second. And we'll see. We'll see how that did. All right. So we're going to give away this legendary bundle in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cold Demise. Congratulations. You won the legendary bundle. Cold Demise. You might have also won the, most badass username of the day as well. So Cold Demise, you have won the legendary bundle. Congratulations, Cold Demise. So somebody, our normal content manager is out today. So this might take slightly longer than typical to award that to you. But here within the next couple of days, you will definitely have that, and we will figure it out. But Elliot's on vacation this week, but we will figure it out. Congratulations, Cold Demise. You won a legendary bundle. Let's see what's upcoming. So the encounter tracker, phase 1 of that, initiative tracking, hit point, status tracking. These are all things that we're targeting for the encounter builder and that we're excited to put in place there. And then dice rolling, again, more information on that. This is something that's being talked about a lot in our offices at this point in time. We do want to target some AL integration. I've heard some things. Again, this is not a complete list that's here on this screen that you're seeing, but I've heard a lot of discussion about some inventory management kind of being, on the horizon. Again, nothing we can really share, and definitely no ETAs, but it's definitely being discussed. And then, yes, we do have book releases with Eberron and Rick and Morty that are upcoming here in November as well. And now it is time for questions. So we're going to see what we have for questions now. Lots of questions already. All right, I play dead people. It's my birthday today. Yes, really. And I really like it if you could give me a mode of darkness on the website. So that would be dark mode. And because it's your birthday, I'm not going to give you the Jim Halpert smirky look today. So that's my gift to you, that I'm not going to, come with the snark. But yes, we do not have a dark mode at this point in time. I have seen a few extensions out there that people have used to make dark mode happen. I know that our designer Travis he's trying to cook up some things. I do believe that there will come a day when modes will be dark for D&D Beyond, but unfortunately for you, that day is not today. Batuga, any plans to make us be able to randomize an already created character, or getting new character slot is the only way to get a randomized one? To randomize an already created character. I'm not sure I fully understand the question. I might need a little clarification there. So Batuga, I'll try to remember that username if I see another question here on the list. But I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at with the question. You could be asking if there's a way to create a character and then randomize certain elements of that character. That is something that we've talked about in the past. It's not something that we've been able to get to. But apologies, I don't quite understand the question. If you want to give me a little clarification, we'll try to answer that one a little later on. Post ID 84, any news on having D&D Beyond app on Amazon Fire tablets? No news on that, unfortunately. We just haven't been able to get there at this point in time. We have some new direction that we're going with on the mobile app, with some additional resources that we've very recently gotten. And so we'll have more to share on what the strategy for the mobile app is going to be going forward before too much longer. Well played, guys. Well played. What is the state of the encounter builder? The state is it is in beta, and right now anybody can access that. You can use up to 8 encounters for free with a free account. If you're a subscriber, you can have an unlimited number. The builder, we are moving from building into tracking encounters, because that's what, as we have surveyed the community is asking for the most. But we will be adding a couple of other things to the encounter builder itself in the coming weeks and months as well. So, the builder is definitely not finished, but we are moving and we're trying to provide the most high impact, meeting the community demand as we can. And so tracking is the thing that people are asking for the most. and we're kind of moving into that at this point. And I imagine we'll come back with the encounter builder to definitely be able to do things like track official encounters that are pre-generated in the adventure books, and possibly randomizing encounters and some of those kind of elements. But those actually were asked for much less than being able to track the encounters. So that's why we're moving in that direction at current and present. Sakamatana 5, how are you doing? Got enough vitamin C? Well, I drank, like one of those huge, like high pulp orange juice containers that has like the weird like handle to it. I drank like one of those this morning. So I mean like the whole thing. So I hope that I'm getting enough vitamin C. Yeah. Dionysus Reborn, Acquisition Incorporated roles on character sheets. Not at this current point in time, but we do hope to be able to provide a little more convenient support for that in the future. At this point, it's definitely something that workarounds are trying to use note fields and all of that, but we know that that is less than ideal, and it's something we would love to be able to do in the future. Aragorn 66J. Oh, hold on. Just a follow up. It's my mistake. My iPad OS is 10.3.3. It can't render the character sheet in portrait mode. I believe it's the planned obsolescence of Apple. All right, thanks for that update. And yeah, those rascally Apple folks. Nah, I didn't mean to start a war right there. So be kind and chat to each other. PC or Mac, we all live on the same planet. We're all a part of the human race. We all can get along if we really try. It involves sacrifice, it involves love, it involves understanding, but we can coexist. Will the Code Rising be available on the mobile app as a compendium book? Yes, at some point in time. No updates on that yet. JD Bausch, how soon can we expect to have folders in the encounter builder? I don't know how soon, but it is something that is being talked about and definitely something that we target to have available. Noah Fondi, is it possible to have more details on the Trello cards to describe the tasks? I assume that you're talking about for the public roadmap, and it is potentially possible for some of those cards, and some information has been provided on those cards. But the truth is, where the information is not provided, that is intentional, and it's something that we are not painting ourselves into any corners. When we get to those things, we prefer to have a clean slate where we can make sure that we're meeting the needs of the community at the time that we are putting that functionality together. All right. Buckeye Knight, how is the virtual tabletop coming? It's not coming at all yet. We have other things on our plate, but it is something that we are excited about in the future. Mars Million, what do you love most about the Eberron campaign setting? Wand Slingers. JD Bausch, will we be able to modify the encounter builder presets? If so, how soon? So I'm assuming that you're meaning like the party size and some of those other elements. So persisting your choices there is definitely something that's on the short list. It's something that we hear from the community loud and clear. I imagine it will make it in before too much longer, and it's something that we definitely know that we need there. And then also we definitely know that we need the ability to just tie party size to existing campaigns that you have. So again, definitely on the short list. Cerevrus X, is there a function to add a set price for both homebrew and Wizards of the Coast made magic items? There is not a function at this point in time. We have intentionally not gone that direction yet, because of the as soon as we set any kind of pricing for magic items, that is going to really have a profound impact on the way that Wizards of the Coast has wanted magic items to be perceived in the community and in the game worlds here. And so, if we provided anything like this, which this is probably what you're asking for, um, but we would definitely not prescribe any kind of pricing there. We would simply provide a means for you to be able to fill that in. And that's something that we could potentially take a look at as we get into some inventory management enhancements. Dionysus Reborn, can we get NPC characters or encounters attached to campaigns and the DM only visible? I assume that you're talking about like NPC characters on a campaign screen, and that is something that we definitely have talked about and something that we would like to do soon. Cyborg Factory, are there any plans to make the online character sheet match the exported one? The online character sheet match the exported one? Well, we're definitely not going to match the digital character sheet with the exported one. That's not something that we're going to do. If you're talking about maybe the other way around, where the exported one would match the online character sheet, that is something that we would like to provide some additional export options in the future, but we just haven't gotten there yet. All right. Cerberus X, have you been adding new art to magic items? We add the art that we have available to us. And so if art becomes available in newer books, we do add that. Otherwise, we every bit of art that we have has been utilized. Jay Fabre, maybe. Does the encounter builder take the action economy into account when determining the difficulty of an encounter? That's definitely a question for Jeremy at Wizards of the Coast. But based on what I know of it, it definitely takes all of that into consideration. Greg and then some. And he plans to add a search filter for just things that I have unlocked, as opposed to manually selecting my sources one at a time. We've heard this, and it is on the list. Not exactly sure when we'll get that in, but it's definitely on the list. Casual Shadow JR. Is it in the cards at any point to allow purchasing content in the iPhone app? So you certainly can purchase book content in the iPhone app. If you're talking about individual pieces of content, that is actually nightmarish when it comes to mobile apps, especially in the Apple store, because of the way that you have to submit the different types of things that you can buy and the preset pricing. So we're not incredibly keen on getting down into the granular level of detail on the iPhone, but that's not to say that we won't ever get there. RJ Slinger, are there more campaign level customization tools or features on the horizon? Depends on what your horizon is, but yes, we certainly, one of the teams in particular is talking quite a bit going into 2020 about wanting to do more with campaigns themselves. And so hopefully we'll start to see some updates along those lines before too much longer. Saint Batelho, do you have an update on the mobile app character sheet? No update at this point in time, other than it is being worked and it is something that we know is a major priority. It is the top most requested topic in the feature request voting page that we have out there. So we're very well aware of how important it is, and we're going to be definitely doing everything that we can to get that into the community's hands as soon as possible. What sirs? Any update on active condition effects on the character sheet? Um, I'm assuming this means like temporary effects, kind of like I rage as a barbarian and then I activate that somehow on my sheet. So no updates on that yet, but as we start to do things like track encounters and track initiative and get into combat management, that gets us closer and closer to being able to do things like this because we will introduce a sense of time and rounds and those kind of things that would be prerequisites for things like temporary effects on the characters. Milano Centris, when can I add my party to the encounter builder? I addressed that a little bit earlier. It's definitely on the short list, and we hope to get to it soon. Kassan back. Can and will the encounter builder auto roll initiative for players and monsters, or allow to input player roles and auto roll mobs? The idea is for all of those options to be available and based on how you prefer to play that. That's not to say they're all going to be available immediately as of first release of this, but it is something we've talked about all those methods, and the intent would be to make initiative and tracking all of that as convenient as we possibly can. All right, let's see. Omni Parker, will we see more joint sales with Wizards of the Coast like the Essentials kit? I certainly hope so, but nothing else that I can share at this point in time. DMW 71, any chance the share all or block all buttons in content management could be aligned to the right above the toggle switches? I think that's very good feedback. Not as obvious. I completely agree with you, and we'll make sure that our product manager for that team is paying attention. I think that that is very valid feedback, and I think that that is something that we can make happen. Batuga, since translation is going to be a very future thing, how long until we can change between imperial and metric systems only, keeping the English version? We will we will follow Wizards of the Coast lead on this 100% of the time. And until they do metric conversions, we will not be doing metric conversions. So that's come up in the past, and I understand. I genuinely do understand the challenges there. But as the official tool set, we have to follow, Wizards of the Coast lead, and they are using the Imperial, system is basically what we have in Dungeons and Dragons. So as these translated books, I haven't checked in Italian, for instance. I don't know if they're converting things or not there, but if they are, you would have that available in the compendium content only, and it would not, as I said before, full localization across the entirety of the site is a massive undertaking and not something that we can undertake lightly, especially when we have so many other fish to fry when it comes to the tool set for D&D Beyond. So, might not be the answer that you'd like to hear, but it's the answer that we have at this point in time. Vaxum, are there plans to have the encounter builder import character number? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I've already answered this one, and it is on the short list. Jake Dio, is there a plan in place to limit what information players can see about certain tooltips on items? Perhaps more specifically, is there a plan for an unidentified item feature so players don't know exactly what they picked up? We've talked about that in context of some of the inventory management discussions we've had. And so I do think that would be super cool. And I think it would be super handy for use in a session. And it would probably even make the process of handing out loot just simply more special at the table. And so I think it's win win win. And I do think it's something that we would support at some point. Silver Ghost 0810. Do you have plans to build any tools to run encounters and manage initiative? Yes. That one probably came in a little early because I've already been talking about that a good bit. But yes, we certainly will be allowing you to run encounters and manage initiative. And we're very excited to see that. Il Squallow, if I already bought the PHP in English, will I get the foreign language version? This will be a separate purchase, for instance, with Italian. If you've already bought the PHP in English, you will have to purchase the compendium content only. Again, this is $19.99 USD. You will have to buy that separately in Italian, for instance, or whatever languages we support in the future. And that is per Wizards of the Coast, just like it would be with a hardcover book. That they are treated as separate products, and they require separate purchases. Bad 007, will we ever get an option to share? Almost lost it. Specific chapters or sections of books, like sharing map pages or handout sections. I think that is a great idea. It's something we've certainly talked about. It's not something that is on the short-term roadmap. Solari's TV, how does one fight the con plague? I have been trying with, hold on, I'm going to have to, 1 second. I have been trying with, giant jugs of orange juice and, um, you know, all kinds of things. I went to the doctor to see if they would give me shots. They don't give shots anymore. I don't know what that's about. I think, people hate shots. I don't care about a shot. You can stick me with whatever you need to stick me with if it means I will get well earlier and faster. But, I don't really know the answer to this, to be honest. Like, I think that prevention is probably the best rule. And I think I let my guard down a little bit too much in New York this time. Rocket Loaf, will legendary bundles contain foreign language portions once they are added? No, those will be separate at least at this point in time. We will not be able to um, do that as part of the legendary bundle because too much of the community would not need the different languages that we eventually plan to support. Darth Sarkis, what is the status of character sheet upgrades, bag management, etc.? As I shared before, we are definitely starting to talk about inventory management. And so hopefully that's as exciting for you as it is for me. Supercron 3, if you could easily know and speak any language, what language would you choose in game and out? So you're talking about like a made up language in game? Like, which one would I want to speak? And then possibly what the real world language would be. I would probably choose to be able to speak German outside of a game because I'm fascinated by a lot of the German philosophers that lived a while back, and I also my son is pretty heavy into historical European martial arts, and a lot of the styles that they learn are in German, and so he's constantly throwing words out at me that I don't know what they mean. So probably German. Spanish would be very useful where I am regionally based, so that would be a good choice as well. But then also in game, I would probably want to. It depends on which game. So are we talking about? I'll just say a fictional universe. I would love to be able to speak Krakoan. So you can go look that one up maybe. Frank the Step. Could we include a buy sale button in the equipment section so that if we buy it, it automatically removes the gold from the inventory or add half the value, etc.? So we do have to be a little bit careful with an implementation like this because there are several wild cards at play. And really, the DM is kind of in charge of those wild cards. And so, if we ever did something like this, it would take the form of allowing a DM to set up a storefront, more or less, and allow the DM to control the different preferences and toggles like that. And then, allow players to go in and make those transactions. All right. Cold Demise, there's that username again. When can we expect to be able to create and view characters for campaigns in the app instead of having to go to the website? That's something that we are working on. First step would be to view characters, not to build them, but to view characters inside the mobile app. In the meantime, I genuinely do encourage you to check out the character sheet on your phone in the mobile browser. It works really, really well. The major appeal for having that in a mobile app is for something like offline access, and we understand that. But if offline is not a requirement for you, then I definitely encourage you to check out the mobile browser. Shadow Striker with L's or possibly I's on either side as a framing device because Shadow Striker was probably already taken. I really you run into this in so many video games. It's kind of frustrating. You got this perfect name and then you have to like frame it with X's and all kinds of stuff. Any chance you'll eventually put the older UA material that never made it to print on here? See if people feel different about it now than they did then. No, we will not be doing that, and that is following Wizards of the Coast lead. So Wizards of the Coast is very concerned with maintaining the integrity of the content that they're putting out there. And so if something is older playtest material that hasn't made a cut or has not made it into a product in the past, they have specifically asked us not to include that because they don't necessarily want atrophied game design to be available in the official tool set. So I understand that decision, and it's something that we will not be supporting. Lunchbox McGee, what's the latest on the monster builder? It's something that we want to do that we haven't gotten to yet, but I'm very excited for the day when we can get to that. Bad 007, where should I go for my birthday lunch? Is today your birthday? I don't know where you are located, so it's going to be very, very tough for me to tell you where you should go. But it's hard to go wrong with chicken wings. So if there's that place around you, by all means, go all in on the buffalo. Omni Parker, how will Eberron change the already set up artificers? Very good try, but I can't quite tell you until that's released. I Ninja Panda. Oh, you're a Ninja Panda. Nice. Is there an ETA for the mobile app getting? Oh, repeat. No ETA. Something we're going to be working on. Uno momento. All right. Finoco, at what phase is the integration of a module and the encounter tracker? Not exactly sure yet, but it is on the short list. So that's something that we're trying to figure out when we can get to that. We understand that's important and it's something we want to do. What serves any possibility that one day D&D Beyond will have older editions like 3.5 character sheets? Never say never, but I can tell you that that's probably as close to never as I could comfortably say. Very, very unlikely that would ever happen. We're still trying to wrap our arms around fifth edition, and there's a lot of ground to cover. So it's just from a bandwidth perspective, from a commercial perspective and the relative popularity of fifth edition to other editions, just very unlikely that we would ever do that. Demaskull, could we have some sort of lock capability for players inside a campaign so only the DM can change game stats during play? Wow, that's like really untrusting of your players, but maybe there are reasons. So I'm not going to judge. This is not something that we've currently really thought about, and it's not currently on the list. But if there's enough demand for this, we certainly would take a look. Saber Runner, it's my anniversary today. Just wanted to let everyone know 10 years together and many more to go. Congratulations, anniversary. That is great. I'm assuming that is, well, I don't know. I don't know what kind of anniversary, but 10 years together is a lot to spend with anyone, to be honest. And so congratulations to you, and I wish you all the best. Vox Culina, why is the DDB team so awesome? It's probably because, um, yeah, we all just love role playing games. We love Dungeons and Dragons, and we love making cool things. So it is really an awesome team, and I am very very blessed to be able to be a part of this and to be able to interface and interact with such a great team on a daily basis. Loth Sun, is the artificer changing? Wow, I can't answer those kind of questions, folks. Wub Wub 976. How far off? Oh, wow. I'm going to have to screen these a little bit better. Like the cloud that's inside my head is not doing, but we are working on this, and it's something that we know is important. Who is Nafar? You have a monster builder and a character builder, but if I'm trying to, oh, hold on. If I am trying to make or remake a villain like Oblivion from Dungeon Magazine issue 90, what would be the best way to go about it? I want to give monsters classes, items, etc. That's something we want the monster builder to be able to do, but that's just not something we've gotten to yet. So it's probably going to be I would imagine if you're wanting to do this in D&D Beyond, you could approximate this by creating a custom homebrew race that includes the monster stat block portions of that, and then add class levels on top of that, and it would definitely get you a very close approximation. Zekmorn J, when you block content, does it also block magical items from a campaign? For example, I don't want my players to have access to maps all the time, but I want to be able to give them loot. At this point in time with content management, it only blocks compendium level access to that content. So it does not do anything with magic items or any other options for players. It only does the compendium so they can't read ahead and be spoiled or look at the maps. So at this point, it's not going to block you being able to give them loot. Datalic 1, will we be able to ever put our homebrew sub races together like the race and sub races are for released races? So I believe you're talking about the race categories. This is something that is on the list and something that we certainly want to take a look at when we have the time to do so. No ETA though. Squancher, can we buy the extra stuff like frames and backgrounds? I really want them. We are working on it. Loth Sun, have there been any updates? Oh, I should have screened it a little bit better. I've answered that one a few times. Vox Culina, has there been any progress in filtering out named monsters from the monster list? I am not sure if I may have heard this one before. It seems vaguely familiar, but I'm not sure this one's on our radar. but it's something that we can certainly take a look at doing potentially at some point in the future. Kenjia, lots of numbers. What was the strangest thing that stopped work on the platform? What was the strangest thing that stopped work on the platform? I'm not sure I understand the question. If you want to clarify that one for me a little bit, I'll try to come back to it. Apparently, people want a character sheet in the app. I'm going to skip a few of those. Salison01, will there ever be a way to oh, wow, I thought I skipped it. Wow. Let me see. I'm going to have to read very, very closely. Let's see. Wow. They just keep coming. We know it's important. We know it's most requested. We know it's something we want to do. Okay, let's try this one. AJ Killa 92. Is there a plan for a create your character in terms of a visual hero builder where you can design what your character physically looks like? Yes, we have plans for something along those lines. Nothing more to share at this point in time, though. All right, let's see. I'm having to read these a little more carefully. Kassan back. Could you add a randomized button for starting gear when building a new character? I think that's a great idea. I think that's something we can certainly add to the list. Let's see. I've answered a lot of these already. Variathis. Do you plan on creating a random treasure generator? I think that's a great idea. Definitely something we've talked about. We would love to tie treasure parcels to encounters at some point in time. And so that's something we're certainly looking at. Adventure Fight. Are there plans to calculate and account for sidekicks in the encounter builder? This is something that we'll have to take a little bit more of a look at, but it's certainly something that a dungeon master should be keeping in mind. These are more or less considered. So when you get into sidekicks, their purpose is more or less considered as an extra character. So the dungeon master needs to keep that in mind. When we move a little further down the road, I think it would be a very convenient thing to have that if somebody has that sidekick available in their extra section, that it would try to pull that into the encounter builder when we get to the point of pulling in existing campaigns. So it's something we can certainly look at. Let's see. Angus.Davidson. Will there be a Project Catalyst app version to run the app directly on a Mac? I'm afraid, as a Windows user, I have no idea what Project Catalyst is. And so I can't really answer this question. But yeah, so I'm going to just stop there. I'm not sure, what that is, but I can tell you that I have not heard any discussion about doing such a thing because I don't even know what Project Catalyst is. So I'll research a little bit after the stream here. Oh, hold on. All right, Swash 222. Any plans on fixing the Divine Soul Sorcerer so you can replace the spell from the Divine Magic feature? This is definitely on the list, and it's something we would like to do. Just where everybody's aware of how we are kind of forced to look at some of those kinds of components in D&D Beyond. So replacing the spell in the divine magic feature, there are workarounds. I want to be completely transparent here and very clearly lay out that we understand that a workaround for that issue is not ideal. It is not what we want to be able to supply and provide for the community. But there are some workarounds, even changing out other spells for it, and potentially getting around it. But the amount of divine soul sorcerers that we have compared to the amount of other issues or other functionality that we're trying to develop and trying to work on that are going to provide impact and benefits for you know way more numbers of characters. Those are the kinds of things that come into our decision making process. So yes, I agree, it is frustrating to be playing a divine soul sorcerer and not be able to change that spell out. Definitely understand that. And if it was up to me and they gave me access, when I see some of these kind of things, I would code that over a weekend and fix that one issue, for you. I really would. But it's just not the way that we can work, and that is not a scalable process. And so therefore there are going to be some things like this that we are not able to prioritize, even though they're persistent issues, because there is some sort of potential workaround that can happen there. And so we do the best that we can to try to provide a workaround if we can. And then otherwise, it really does come down to an impact analysis of how many characters are being impacted by this particular issue versus how many are being impacted by another issue. And if those numbers are dramatically different, we have to go with the larger amount of issues. And so again, the amount of time that some of this stuff has been out there definitely plays a part in that process too. But it is something that we have a list. We know what these things are. Even the ability to for, I guess it's an illusionist wizard, to change out minor illusion, things like that are on the radar. They're just at the fringes of where the radar reaches. And so we are going to be doing our best as we're getting into other larger rocks to come back to some of these smaller rocks and try to knock out some of the lower hanging fruit. But it is a challenge for us to do that with so many small rules exceptions, and it is difficult for us to prioritize between those sometimes. So I wanted to just take a second and explain the thought process behind that. It's not that we don't want that to work in a more convenient way, but it really is that with the amount of rules exceptions that are out there, we've got to try to tackle those in some kind of systemic way. And we do our best to measure that based on the impact with the community. And so, like I said, hopefully just transparently letting you know, yes, I would love to see that one fixed. I would love to see the illusionist fixed. I would love to see, the ability to add a name to named spell to a scroll. There are several very small things that, when you're at the table, you can kind of work around. But yeah, we have to try to do our best to prioritize those things along with some of the bigger rocks that we're trying to move. So hopefully somebody got something out of that, I don't know, fever dream of all the medicine concoctions that I'm on right here. But ultimately saying that we hear you and we want those things to be improved, and we want those things, we want to get to those things, but we do have limited capacity that we have to try to use as efficiently as we possibly can. All right, let's see. People want a character sheet in the mobile app. I don't know if you knew that or not. We certainly know it. Let's see. Okay. DMW 71. Are there plans to make available an audit trail of sorts on character sheets so a DM or even the player are able to see if and when a particular change was made and what that change was? This is actually something we've talked about and something that some of our very recent infrastructure changes that we've been working on for some time to even make sure that our huge database of characters doesn't like go down in flames. These are all things that we're kind of setting ourselves up for the eventuality of being able to do this. So yeah, I think that's a fascinating feature and something that we would certainly like to cover. Let's see. Wow. I'm having lots of repeat questions today. Um, Null Zone 42. Heard recently that Fandom acquired and um, is it's acquired Cortex gaming engine. Will there be any cross connectivity between Cortex features and DDB, including but hopefully not limited to your subscription enabling services or features in both halves? Cortex will definitely not be crossing over with D&D Beyond from a functionality perspective. D&D is its own ecosystem. Cortex will be its own ecosystem. Um, but beyond that, we don't have anything else that we can share on the Cortex front yet. Squancher, can we buy stock in your company? At this point in time, no, we are not a publicly traded company, but that is something that I personally would love to see happen one of these days. Dagobah 46. What's an old or never before seen feature, activity, etc. you would want to see Wizards of the Coast introduced to 5e in the future? Hmm, that's interesting. I would say that I loved the concept. I can't remember what they were called in third edition. I don't believe it was legendary. Um, Maybe it was heirloom or legacy. I can't remember the term, but I like the concept of magic items that can scale with a character because I like the concept of a character being able to identify with equipment or weaponry early in their career and being able to unlock its potential and power over time. And so I would love to see some type of official treatment of that in fifth edition. I think that would be very useful. Let's see, maybe time for one more question. Cerevrus X, and he plans to add the epic boons from the DMG. Yes, that is something that I've seen some talk about with the teams, and we're trying to certainly figure out how and when to do that. We would love to see that as well. All right, I think that we are out of time. I made it to the end of the hour, which is actually a little bit of a surprise for me. Thanks to everyone for sticking with me and putting up with the minor, cough mute breaks there. But again, I know that we canceled for a couple of weeks in a row. Did not want to leave you hanging a third time. Everything should be fine for next week. So come back and join me next week for next week's development update. And if your question didn't get answered today, I do always save these. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to keep up with all of them, but I do appreciate you coming and joining me and asking them. I really do appreciate the engagement. And we do this for you, the community. And so you being here and present and engaging in this way really does thrill our souls. So thank you very much for that. I hope everyone has a great day. Later, Gators.